Hello everybody, I'm Ethan, aka eRaptor612, and we're going to be doing a completely different video today. Today we're going to be reading a book that I made, and trust me, it's not trash, so don't dare click off the video. I don't know if you already did, but anyway. We're going to be reading about a biography named John Pork Biography. I made this in the 5th grade. It was a big meme at the time, and I'm going to read the back summary or whatever. This is a biography about a man named John Pork, who was born on June 3rd, 1991. John Pork had a hard life, but later he got married and had a son named John Pork Jr. So please enjoy this book about John Pork. Chapter 1, A Newborn. On June 3rd, 1991, a baby by the name of John Slog was born. He was born in Dallas, Texas, and lived a pretty good life until when John Slog went to kindergarten. On the very first day, he was relentlessly bullied a lot. Even the teacher made fun of John. So when John Slog was 18, he decided to go get plastic surgery. But little did he know the surgery was constructed by the CIA. So they injected pig DNA into his body, and John Pork was born. He was so mad and furious, he killed 5 surgeons with a little scalpel. He ran and ran to a nearby alley. He stayed home for most of the time because of how he looked. When John was 27 years old, he married the love of his life and had a son named John Pork Jr. Then they moved to Colorado. When John was in a bar, he met a guy named Biggie Cheese. Cheese asked him if he wanted to be part of his gang. John said, "No, I'm good." Then Biggie Cheese said, "You'll get paid a lot of money if you want to help us." John Pork, as he knew he was poor, he decided to join the Cheddar Cheese gang. He was having fun with his gang until a new gang was building up called the Eagles. The Eagles was a very bad group who would hurt a lot of people for no reason. Obviously, the Cheddar Cheese gang didn't like that, so they decided to go to war with the Eagles. The Eagles automatically knew that they were going to war, so while the Cheddar Cheese gang was going to Mexico, where the Eagles' base was, something unexpected happened. An Eagle member by the name of Robert Topper shot Biggie Cheese with a knockout dart. The gang was so shocked, so John Pork took the wheel. But then he was shot too. So then the vehicle crashed, leaving all 13 members knocked out. They all survived, though. Marvin Beak said, "Get their bodies out, tie them up in our base." So a few hours later, they finally woke up. They were confused on what was happening. They saw the cartel with armed guns. They took aim and fired. Only a few escaped: John Pork, Bobby Broccoli, and Steve Beef. Chapter 2, A Plan. Once they escaped, they went to John Pork's house to make a plan to destroy and kill the Eagles cartel for what they have done to their gang. John's wife was confused. John said everything's okay. The wife was still a bit confused, so she followed them into a basement. What she saw was shocking. Everything was not all right when she saw a dartboard called Operation Destroy the Eagles Cartel. She ran upstairs, worried for herself, and she was worried for John Jr. and her husband. So she tried to stay calm, but meanwhile, in the basement, John said, "Steve Beef is good at tech, right? So I'm assigning Steve to do armor duty, make the strongest armor." Steve said, "Yes, sir, I will get right on that." Bobby Broccoli and John Pork were doing their own thing. They were mapping out how they were going to go and infiltrate the base. Then John Pork will sabotage the Eagles' needs, like canceling drug shipments, disrupting their cash flow, taking out their top lieutenants. It took them 9 long hours to get from Colorado to Mexico, where the Eagles are. They were worried for their lives, but anything to save the world. So they finally arrived at the base. They put their armor on and grabbed the map that they snuck in without a trace. But no one was there. Little did he and his group know that something was happening back home. At John's house, the Eagles cartel broke in, stole, and killed John's wife and baby. John got a notification on his phone that said, "Warning, someone broke into your house, calling the police now." John was worried sick about his wife and baby. So they rushed back home, and when they went to the house, everything was not all right. They saw 12 police SWAT trucks and 2 ambulances. John was worried even more. There was crime tape everywhere, broken windows, and even worse, John's wife and baby's lifeless bodies. John broke out in tears, crying that he knew that there was something that he couldn't do. But it was too late. They were already dead. John built up with frustration and anger. He said, "This was their last strike. Now let's hunt them down." Without any hesitation, they went running to the van and drove off to the Eagles' base. Chapter 3, The Manhunt. Finally, after another 9 long hours, they made it. John stepped outside first, and they saw the vans that his gang got kidnapped in. So that means that they were there. Bobby Broccoli saw 2 guards, and then he took him out with his gun. Then it was go time. They went charging with their guns towards their base. The guards had a code to the base, so Steve Beef picked it up, and the code was 342456-1ET. So they typed in that code, and it worked. So then they entered in the base. They saw the gang smoking cigarettes while playing poker. There was a small bullet hole in the glass leading to their gang inside. Quietly, they put the tip of their guns in the bullet holes and began shooting. One after another and another, the gang was dying. John didn't stop until his gun was empty. Marvin Beek was dead. 10 days later, John crossed the bridge and he heard a loud explosion. The cartel put C4 on the bridge, knowing that John Pork would cross it. The breeze rained down on John. John thought it was the end of his life. 2 days later, the news broke out that John Pork has been found dead. The whole world was shocked. Steve Beef saw the news and went to the scene of the crime to where John Pork was dead. Steve checked his pulse. Suddenly, he felt a very, very faint pulse. He kept digging and digging until he found John Pork. As John woke up, he can't remember anything, so Steve Beef tried to jog his memory and told him everything. John finally remembered what had happened. Steve had some bad news. You know the Eagles? Well, my brother Steven Steak made a gang again, so the war just begun again. John, under shock, he said, I just want a chance at a normal life. We have to beat the Eagles to get a normal life, so come on down to my house and I will help you, said Steve Beef. John agreed to come over, so they remade the armor. John asked, hey, where's Bobby Broccoli? Steve Beef replied, oh, him? Yeah, he died. John Pork said, anything for my friends and family. So then they were done making the suits. They went off to the base. Another 9 long hours later, they made it to the base. They saw Steven Steak on the watchtower next to the base. So they drew their guns and began shooting. Steven Steak was dead, but John kept shooting. He felt bullets whizzing past his head. John got shot, but his armor was bulletproof. So he rose back up again, and there were only 69 gang members left. Steve Beef had been blown away by an RPG that the Eagles were using. John broke out in tears, but that wouldn't stop until his gun was empty. All the members were dead. As John mourned the loss of his wife, baby, Bobby, and Steve, John had a hard life. But in 2018, he started an Instagram account where he does dances and takes photos. He really enjoyed this thing and forgot that his friends died. Chapter 4, The Shock. In 2021, John was in his home watching the news that he died, but he laughed it off knowing that he was alive and fine. But a few weeks later, John caught COVID-19, which was a deadly and dangerous virus going around at the time. He went to the hospital, but unfortunately, another gang built up called the Carrots. Now, the Carrots were a very bad gang, even worse than the Eagles cartel. Why were the Carrots worse than the Eagles cartel? Well, the Carrots launched 2 nukes at the US and Australia, and they killed more than 1 million people. Later, John recovered. He got a phone call from the Carrots. John was scared to heck. He didn't know what to do, so he picked up. The voice of the Carrots was scary. John shook to his knees. The leader, Carrotson Lopez III, told him a very scary message. I know where you live. I know what you're doing. And I know your name. John Pork, he said while screaming. John immediately hung up the phone as he was going to find people to join John's gang to save the world. John wrote a sign that said, if you can read this, help save the world from the Carrots. Join my gang and call this number at 1-800-231-PORK. Let's take down the Carrots for all. Surprisingly, John had 23 members in his gang. John helped them train and hack. Then, a few days later, they were ready. And it was a good thing that they were ready because the Carrots broke in and invaded John's house. They began shooting. Only one person on John's side was dead. The others were wounded. John's gang killed approximately 284 members from the Carrots. Now it was only the leader and the top lieutenants. John's members were almost dead, and there were 3 members on John's side left. John told his members to go in the basement to be safer, but John was shot in the leg. But even though he was hurt, he still kept on fighting. He killed every member, but the people in the basement, well, they were taking the wrong turn. There were 3 members of the Carrots in the basement. John heard gunshots, so he immediately went down to the basement to see what was going on. The rest of John's members were gone. John, filled by anger and grief, he shoots his gun till it was empty. Everyone was dead, but John broke out in tears crying, so he moved to Switzerland, where he will be the most safe. Let's take down the Eagles. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you guys for reading. If you made it to the end of the video, please like and subscribe. I put like so much effort. This took me like a literal month to make. Like it has like literal chapters and all that stuff. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this book and have a good day.